Okay, ladies, I told you I would come back when I was feeling restored and have some insights for you, and today is that day. So I've got 6 kind of life tips that hopefully you will find applicable, and these will really make life better for you in small ways. So let's start with things I realized on this particular work trip. The first is, you are not a cool girl. The cool girl era is over, because what it was teaching us as women in particular is that you are most valuable based on your willingness to go with the flow and be easy and convenient to other people. And it really landed with me, particularly this time, how I am done being the cool girl. Now, I'm already someone who's pretty easygoing when it comes to group dynamics, because I grew up in a big family and I understand that you don't always get what you want. You are not the center of the universe and you need to be accommodating. So if you have struggled with this too, this advice is for you. If you're already entitled and you do feel like the world revolves around you, there might be some calibration here, but I am high maintenance. There are things that I need to feel like my best self. There is time that I take to get ready. There is investment into my routine. There are things that I pack. There are many pairs of shoes, and these are all specific to me, but I am no longer willing to say, I'm cool, I'm chill, I'll be ready in a sec. We need to build this into the schedule, and this is going to require you to set some boundaries, and you will be surprised how quickly people say, okay, that's just how it is. And the ones that don't, it's usually, of course, like it's not convenient for them, and that just has to be okay. I realized that more than ever on this trip, so I just made sure I built in a lot of time to get ready, taking walks in the morning, like doing things I knew were going to be restorative, even if it took more time. So don't be afraid to be high maintenance. That is you valuing yourself. And of course, you're still going to be kind and considerate, but if that already comes naturally to you, calibrate towards being that diva that you are. Kind of a segue into that around setting boundaries. So the schedule used to be on previous trips like this that I was traveling with, it's always all men, and they're often younger and have a lot more stamina. And there was a lot of like, okay, we work all day and then we come back, we crack open a couple beers, we go to the after like social happy hour, then we go out to dinner, and then we go to the after party, and then we come back and like, let's open some beers and let's sit around and have a strategy session about tomorrow. That wasn't really a strategy session. It was just like screwing around and drinking beers. And I'm not saying this with disdain, because 10 years ago, I would have been right there for all of this. It would have been the best time, but I'm not in that place now. And I've realized that more and more, that I need to set some boundaries around what I am capable of in order to give my best the next day. And I was able to do that more than ever at this show and realized that was okay. It also segues into the group I was traveling with was very different. So number 3 is you really do, I mean, boundaries are important, but you really do get influenced by the people that you're with. So make it easier on yourself to rise to the version of yourself you want to be by surrounding yourself with those people that don't make excuses, people that don't complain and make things harder than it needs to be. And on this particular trip, I had colleagues that were getting up and going for runs, or were like working hard at the conference, didn't think it was cool to blow things off, but also weren't like hair on fire, everything's a big deal. It was just a really nice vibe, and it helped me settle my nervous system and kind of calibrate to their rhythm. So don't make it harder by surrounding yourself with people that you're constantly having to set boundaries with. It's exhausting. The next one is about pretty privilege. So pretty privilege is, let's think of it as magnetism. So sure, there's all different versions of this that have all different levels of meaning and ickiness, but the way that I choose to see it is magnetism. And I absolutely do get treated differently when I pour into myself, when I dress nicely. I had met somebody for the first time at an evening event where I was like pretty casual and not super dressed up, and it was great. But she saw me the next morning when I had my red dress on and my hair was done, and she went, wow. I could tell she was receiving me differently. And I don't interpret this as unfair bias. I interpret this as she is seeing the reflection of what I poured into myself today. Now, this isn't a long-term, like you do have to have a personality and be a person that people want to be around in the long term, but that initial reaction when you're out existing in the world is absolutely a thing. And I don't see it as unfair, because I believe anybody can be magnetic and radiant. You don't need to be some beauty standard to be received as that. Isn't that refreshing? Like the quirkiest, strangest looking people can still get pretty privileged because of the way they take care of themselves or put themselves out in the world. The next one is really the most important, the most groundbreaking thing that I experienced at this conference, and that I'm now taking with me beyond that. As I was walking into the show, there's months of planning that go into these events, and there's goals that we have, and there's people we're trying to connect with, and conversations that we want to go well. And you feel all that energy up here, right? And if you've ever heard, get out of your head and get into your body, this is what that means. So we are in our heads as animals because of biology, because of evolution. We're trained to scan for problems, for danger. It can create fear based on things that have happened in the past, or anxieties. And learning to evolve above that, I think, is part of the human experience, to rise to our creativity, to rise to future possibility, to rise above being just base feral animals is part of why we are human. And getting out of that animal brain is a big part of that. So as I'm walking into this conference and all these thoughts are going through my head, this is it, I'm here, it's happening, I suddenly got this feeling wash over me, like, just be in your body. And I felt those thoughts like when you dive into the water and you feel the water move to the side, all the thoughts just went whoosh. And I felt like I dropped into my body, into the moment, and specifically into the back of my body, like my spine, the back of my head, my spine. And I felt rooted, and I felt aware and alive and receptive. And I got into a listening mode, and I got into a responsive rather than reactive mode. It conserved my energy so much. I usually feel so exhausted by the end of these trips, or just the end of the day. I'm like absolutely drained. And I didn't feel that way. I felt like I was containing my energy into myself rather than like pushing it out into thoughts, into reactions, into how I'm supposed to be. It was so transformational. And it was a moment to moment practice. I'd forget sometimes, and then I would, because it's a pattern, right? I would come back in to my body, and some deep breaths, and that feeling of rootedness. Like I could feel like I was part of nature, that piece of nature. And sometimes I would even go step outside just to feel like the sun photosynthesizing me to help energize that feeling. So that's the biggest takeaway. If you can start experimenting with that. And I had heard this 100 times, and I can't say for sure what made it click in this moment. I'll keep sharing as I go along. Definitely the work of Svaha Yoga Academy is a big part of this. A lot of the teachers I followed, and something just dropped in that moment. So I'll keep trying to give you like the insights that got me there. But even after I came back from my trip and I had to do some public speaking, and I get some feels. I think if you feel nothing before you public speak, like you might be a sociopath, because there's some like experience you want people to be paying attention, you want to be engaging, you want to convey information or a feeling. So like there's some activity that happens in the body that to get geared up for that. but I was doing the thing where I was like, stop making a story. That's what it is. All those thoughts are creating a story about what this thing means. And that can freak us out. Like, it means this, it means this, it's a big deal, it's because of this. But when you don't have the story, like, you really are just in that moment, and anything that made things true in the past can just fall away and not be true anymore. It's absolutely incredible. Excuse me. So I gave my talk and I didn't even feel nervous. I just felt like there's something I want to say here, and I really want this to land. So I'm really like focus on what I'm saying and the message, and not what all these external cues mean and what is that person's facial expression meaning, and trying to read the room. And I was just so in the moment. So this is a valuable skill that's going to apply forever, which is very exciting. But also on the note, and this isn't a tip I wrote in, but I'm just remembering a big part of feeling energized is I used to go into these conferences feeling like I'm going to not eat a lot because digestion will make me feel tired, and I'm just gonna like basically do a cleanse day and then I'll feel more energetic. I don't know if that worked in the past or it never worked, and I just wasn't willing to admit it. But I was so into making sure I ate, making sure I got enough protein. If you're sick of hearing about protein, like, I don't know what to tell you, because it is changing my life. It's rocking my world. I'm trying to get at least 100 grams of protein every day, and I don't get those energy dips that I used to. I don't find myself, I didn't even get an afternoon coffee during these exhausting events. I used to drink a 5-hour energy around like before dinner so I could make it through the after parties. Didn't even consider it. Plus I was like, I'm not going to force energy that I don't need to have. But I was feeling very stable. So nutrition, functional nutrition, definitely really important. The last thing is, when I came back and realized I was feeling burnt out, just tired from weeks of planning and the travel, and feeling kind of behind on my personal life and the house. And I realized the only thing that mattered was resting and recovering. So I went into full triage mode. What do I need to absolutely not do in order to spend time resting like it is my job? Take time off. Cancel kids' activities, get takeout for dinner, like things that might not be long-term solutions, but were absolutely mission critical in the days following my trip, because I wasn't feeling creative, strategic. I knew it was not time to get into any long-term planning. I wasn't feeling excited about things. So I just said, you're gonna lay in bed, you're gonna read a book. And actually one of my other wonderful life hacks is, if you feel like you get addicted to your phone and when you have a minute and you just want to check out, escape, you feel like it's relaxing and you just grab your phone, it's just sitting next to you, you grab it. You don't have enough time to like go take a nap or do some other activity, you just have a few minutes. I've been traveling around the house with a book, and one that's just like a light read, enjoyable. And I love reading a book that I know there's a show or a movie made about it, because it motivates me to like get through it so I can then watch the show or movie. So I'm reading The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hildebrand, and like, it's just a great, light, entertaining read. And it has made me just stop picking up my phone all the time. So just a little hack, give that a try. Editing, Laura, I just remembered something else I did to help with restoration that I think is true for all times, especially for women, is I prioritized beauty. So I put on beautiful, soothing music. I lit candles. I did tidy my room a bit. Even though I was tired, I did prioritize that. Took long everything showers, groomed myself, anything that restored my soul to a sense of beauty. Looking at beautiful things, gazing into the distance, really helped with the restoration process. My barometer for when I knew I was starting to feel better, I kept walking by the cat's litter box. That was disgusting. Unfortunately, it's nice out. He goes outside. He's like a dog. He like goes to the bathroom outside. So it wasn't getting worse, but it needed to be addressed. And when I first saw it, when I got home, I was like, oh, hell no. I do not have the energy to deal with that. And it's going to have to be okay. And then today I looked at it and was like, I'm gonna go get a trash bag right now and I'm just gonna deal with this. I'm like, I know that I'm feeling better. My energy is coming back. So that investment in my rest is now starting to pay off, but it had to happen. So before this gets too long, I'm gonna leave it at those tips, but there's really so much more and I'll keep sharing, and hopefully this is helpful for you. Let me know which of these resonate with you, which you may wanna try or consider. And I would love so much to have that conversation with you. Thank you.